Welcome and thank you for coming. So I'm going to talk to you a bit this morning about managing your concerns around solutions for security outsourcing. Shane's already done a really good introduction, but here's some highlights from my trip to San Francisco and a picture of the award that I picked up, which was very unexpected. And yeah, it's been a big thing. So very, very, very pleased with that. So I've got 20 minutes, fairly full agenda. All these slides will be shared with you later on. So if there's any detail that you're missing or anything, you'll be able to see it in the slides when they're shared. So we're going to look at the importance of security operations, what the sort of risks and data breach costs are looking like, the challenges of building an in-house SecOps, because that is still a thing. What that investment looks like as well. And then the top concerns when outsourcing to an MSSP. So these are things that we've sort of found out through doing our cyber threat report, and then what COCHO's approach is to addressing those concerns. So security operations it's become more and more of an important piece within all organisations. It used to be a bit of a tag-on to the IT services, but really speaking, if you're taking security seriously, then you need to be leading with, from the fore with it. Some of the areas that need to be included as part of a security operations, obviously the proactive threat detection and response. It is proactive because the last thing you want to be doing is chasing your tail once you know that somebody's already got into your estate and they've been up to something and potentially have exfiltrated data or have got their hands on some money, which is usually what we see through the sort of phishing campaigns. SecOps is essential for that proactiveness, identifying, responding and mitigating those security issues and threats. As it says on the slide, without it, you are likely behind the curve when it comes to responding to things that have occurred and that damage that's already been done. Having a unified security approach, we see a lot of clients that have got variety of security tools, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when they are sort of disconnected and not together with each other, then it makes it very, very hard to actually monitor and respond to those incidents because you're looking at so many panes of glass to be able to sort of put that story together. So it's really important that that day-to-day security operations combines the monitoring, the incident response, the threat intelligence, and the analytics so that you really, really look at improving your security posture. And then regulatory compliance, more and more of this regulatory compliance is coming in. It's always been about GDPR, it's always been about PCI DSS, but more and more companies are being asked to have the security operations in place so that they can prove that they are adhering to these regulatory compliance requirements. And if you don't have them, then you can end up looking at sort of costly fines if you're not adhering to what needs to be done. So what are the risks and the costs of a data breach? So this is just some information that we were able to gather. And there's constantly increasing risks of cyber attacks. 60% of small to medium enterprises have experienced a cyber attack in 2023. We're not through to the end of 2024 at the moment, which is why this is 2023's data. And 43% of those attacks were targeted at small businesses. It does say there that ransomware attacks increased by 59%. Prior to 2023, we were talking about ransomware sort of not disappearing, but it had sort of plateaued, but it seems to be on the increase again. And phishing is the biggest thing that we see in security operations at COCHO that leads to that ransomware attack. More importantly, the business email compromise. That is something that we see daily, and it's not just once a day, it's several times a day, and it can be several times a day for the same client as well, which is quite scary. And then the cost of those data breaches. So the average cost to the small to medium enterprise was around £3 million. Now that's a lot of money, which means that for a lot of businesses, they weren't able to sustain that loss and closed within 6 months. So that's people out of work, that's loss of reputation. It's, that's a staggering figure, 60%. And then even if you are able to survive, the average cost of downtime is estimated around about $300,000. So actually, having that time where your systems are not up and running, your staff are not able to work, your customers are not able to, access their data or communicate with you or do business. TfL, their systems are still not fully recovered, and they've been down for a number of weeks. And it's, it is causing problems because people can't use the contactless service online. And staggeringly, cybercrime cost businesses over $8 trillion globally last year. That is absolutely huge. So what about if you want to build your own in-house SecOps? Because a lot of people still look to do this, and I can understand why. But what do you need? The specialised skill set is becoming more and more specialised. And, a SecOps team comprises many roles. It's not just analysts. You've got threat hunters. You've got potentially pen testers. You have engineers who might need to engineer the tools that you're using. And globally, there is still this talent shortage of over 3.5 million. I was actually at an event yesterday morning at Cardiff University where they were talking about that figure actually being closer to 5 million. That is a huge skills gap. And then when you're looking at skills, you need to be able to train, and having that continuous training in an ever-evolving landscape means that the costs of providing that training can be huge. And it's not just financial either, it's time-based. If you've got a small team that needs to be continually trained, how do you work out when they have downtime to train, when basically their main job is keeping you and your client's data safe? A lot of the tools and technologies are a lot more advanced. We've got things like SIEM, endpoint detection and response, the threat intelligence platforms, and there's also incident response tools now that are coming into play that sort of sit in front of all these things. They can be very cost heavy as well and in need of updating and frequent tuning. There's no point having a SIEM or an EDR platform if you don't tune it, because ultimately your team's going to be faced with nothing except noise. And then processes. Everything we do in security is based on people, process, and technology. And if you haven't got the processes to use the technology and for the people to actually put the work in and provide a quality service, then, it's not worth having the technology in the first place. So having those processes around what do you do when you get an incident, what do you do about threat hunting, how do you go about it, and managing your logs as well, because not all logs are created equal. So what do you do about it? That's your processes. And, extensive documentation. Everybody knows that documentation needs to be updated. And again, you need dedicated resources to do that and have time to do that as well. So it does cost both financially and in time. So this is a typical investment that you'd be looking at if you wanted to start up your own in-house security operations. This is for a team of 5. So you're looking at 3 analysts, so tier 1 to tier 3. You're looking at 1 SecOps engineer to do all that good stuff with tuning, etc., and somebody to lead it. So your annual total cost there is sort of upwards from 300,000 just for the actual staff area. Tools and technology, that can vary. You've got all sorts that you need to consider. Like I said, the incident response and SOAR tool, which typically now sits in front of EDR and SIEM, that comes with a cost. And depending on what you use, it can be a cost per analyst, it can be a cost, sort of per client if you're managing it. And then your threat intelligence feeds. Yes, there's a lot of open source ones there, but if you're paying for threat intelligence feeds, it can cost. So you've got, upwards of 56K just for the tools and technology. And then there's additional costs, which if you're still running sort of a more traditional SIEM, you need infrastructure. And then, of course, the training and keeping those skills up to date, which is round about 4 to 8K per analyst per year. So yeah, an annual outlay, you're looking at 456,000 upwards to about 700,000, and that's just to get you off the ground. And that's without any sort of additional things that you might need to look at. So when we did our threat report, outsourcing is a popular solution. And, at Cocho, when we work with new clients who are overwhelmed and unsure where to start, they do have a number of concerns. So our survey that we did as part of the cyber threat report, these were our sort of the top 4 really that came out of it. Data security, data sharing and compliance, that's a big one. Where is my data? What are you doing with my data? And when can I get hold of it if I need to move away from you? So 58% of surveyed respondents said that was their key concern. Communication and responsiveness. We get more and more feedback from clients that they want that communication. They want to know what's going on. 32% said that communication and responsiveness was a top 3 concern when outsourcing. I'm going to do this one next, which is integration with in-house security tools. It's that ease of onboarding and offboarding has to be essential. We've got 86% in this area, but the highest one is 91%, which is that loss of control and visibility. A lot of companies that sell security operations, they sort of onboard you and that's it. You don't speak to them, you're not really sure what's going on with your service. And 91% of survey respondents feel that loss of control and visibility is a real concern. So how have we at Cocho looked to approach and address those concerns? So the way that we're different is that our security operations service is a collaborative one. We believe in transparency and we believe in consistency as well. And part of the new tool set that we've developed this year is something called Clearview. So Clearview gives you visibility into the SOC effectively. So it's Power BI reporting, provides you a single pane of glass. There's data on it. I've got some slides in a minute that'll sort of give you an example of what it looks like. There's data on it from Sentinel, from Defender, from your other security tools. And basically, it gives you the details of what's going on in your environment. What do my sign-in logs look like? These are things that a lot of our clients are concerned about. But it also gives you those recommendations to improve that security posture. 30-day rolling contracts. One of the concerns that we cited on the previous slide was that ease of onboarding and offboarding. So to make it a lot easier, we've introduced 30-day contracts so that you can onboard very easily and it's flexible. So if you want to offboard, you can offboard as well. But it means that there's no commitment. You're able to cancel at any time, but it gives you a flavour of the SOC, of the tools, so that you can make a choice. And then fast AI-assisted onboarding, so we can get you protected for your Microsoft cloud-based data connectors within 24 hours. So the really important things like your identity, the things that sort of make up the perimeter of your infrastructure these days, those things can be protected and monitored with our Security Operations Center within 24 hours. It's quick, it's hassle-free, and it means that you have got a security service from day one. You're not waiting 6 weeks, 3 months, 6 months to get to that point. You've got that security service from the word go. So as I said, I've got a few slides which will sort of give you an idea of what Clearview looks like. These were our original demo slides from May, but the tool has been improved and enhanced since then. So as you can see, some really good information, and being that it's a Power BI report, you can actually drill down. You can click on those sections and drill down into the underlying data. So depending on whether you're C-level and just want to see an overview, it's great. If you're on the technical side within the business, you can drill down and actually see what's brought that data to the fore. This is my favorite one because it's got the sign-in countries by coordinates, and everybody loves a map. So it's really, really good because you can see where all your suspicious activity is coming from. You can see where the failures are, you can see where the successes are, and you can then map that to whether that's where you're expecting your sign-ins to come from. And also, if you're looking at your endpoints, all your devices, servers, etc., it brings in the sort of software vulnerability, what your devices are looking like from a vulnerability perspective. Again, all this data you can drill down to. And also on here, it shows the exploitable vulnerabilities that are affecting your environment. So it gives you all the CVE codes and all the rest of it. So it's really, really informative. So data security sharing and compliance was another concern. From day one, Cocho decided that we would not ship logs. So when we set up your Sentinel, it stays in your environment. The logs stay in your environment. So the data sources, the log sources, they all come from your data areas into Sentinel, which sits in your tenant. We come in the other side, we use Lighthouse. The SOC has got their own Azure tenant subscription, and then we use Lighthouse to do that remote monitoring and access. So the data stays with you. So if you've got regulatory compliance requirements, auditory compliance requirements, you can safely say, I know where my data is, it's still with me. And that is a big thing for a lot of our clients. And then finally, XDR Rapid Protect. So this is our award-winning cloud security tool. It means that you have got those 30-day rolling contracts, so it sort of removes that risk of going into a managed security provider, because after 30 days, if you're not happy, you can offboard. You've got the transparency with Clearview. Like I said, hassle-free onboarding. You're on board with your Microsoft data connectors within 24 hours. And then we've got a raft of automated playbooks that you can choose from that allow you to do things like isolate a machine at a click of a button, or you can do it automatically. Take a user off the domain at the click of a button or automatically. It's based on Microsoft Sentinel, and we have spent the last 4 years working with Microsoft to develop the tool. And it's, you know, the sort of tuning and improvements that we've done have been huge. By the end of this year, we aim to have a gold standard of analytic rules, which means that effectively you would be tuned from day one. It's based on our daily routine with our threat detection engineers of actually looking at the data that's coming through, what incidents are firing, what's of value, what seems to be false positives, etc., and driving out those so that what we see in the SOC is exactly what we should be seeing rather than noise. And we're able to provide that to all our clients, not just one or two. And then we are UK-based. We have 24/7 monitoring, and we do have the nominated customer success managers as well. So it's that collaborative service at every point all the way through.